Hi guys, the time has finally come for me to reveal my best palette of 2020. And this is a palette that I think that all of you are gonna go, I knew it. Because I've been talking about this palette for such a long time. I've been raving about this palette. I've been saying how good this palette is. Even in my first impression video, I was like, guys, there's something special about this palette. So let me just show it to you if you haven't already figured it out already. But this is the Impressionism Palette by Muse Beauty. I do have a code with Muse Beauty now. It's Annette10. It will save you 10% off. It is an affiliate code, just so you know. And I know a lot of you have bought this palette. And please let me know how you feel about it, because I hope that you guys love this palette as much as I do. So for today's video, we are just going to play with this. I'm going to create a look. We're just going to have a good old time. And yeah, that's basically going to be it. So I'm going to go ahead and start by priming. I'm going to use my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, and I'm so excited to just be doing another look with this. I feel like this is the palette that I probably featured in my videos the most this year, even though maybe that only means like 5 or 6 times, but that's still a lot for me, you know? Like for me to be able to bring in a palette that many times into different videos, that says a lot about like how much I love this palette. And it's also the palette that I tend to reach for if I'm like bringing in something else, like say I'm using a all shimmer palette or I'm like testing out shimmers. I tend to reach into this palette for the mattes, because the mattes in this are spectacular. They are some of the best mattes that I have ever tried, and I just love this palette so much. So my plan today might be a little bit crazy, but I'm thinking what I want to do is I want to use this in my crease, and then I want to use the blue to deepen it up with, but not really deepen it up, just kind of change the color of this one and make it into a bit of a darker purple. Like that's kind of the idea. I hope it's going to work. So I'm going to start by taking this shade, which is called Amaranthine. And this is one of my favorite shades in this palette. I mean, just look at that pigmentation. Look how pretty that is. I'm going to start pretty low down so that when I blend this out, I have room to kind of share it out, because I'm not going to blend this out with anything else. So like I always do, I'm just packing on the color where I want it first, and then I will go in and start blending after. I think I'm also going to take this underneath my eye. Like this is the shade that made me fall in love with this palette in the first place. Like I remember now just by using it again, because it's so good. It's just such a beautiful color. It's such a beautiful formula. These are so easy to work with. I just cannot get enough of this palette. Now let's see if my plan is going to work. I'm going to take the blue shade here called Almond, and I'm going to use that to basically put over the top of where I put down this color in my crease as well as in my outer corner, and hopefully it's going to turn into a bit of a kind of dark purple. I'm going to go back and forth with these colors just so I can make sure that I get the result that I want here. So this is definitely doing what I wanted it to do. I am going to take a little bit more of that crease shade and just go back in with that a little bit more so that I can intensify that, because I do want that shade to be quite prominent as well and just be very nice and vibrant. So tip of the day, if there is a shade that you don't have in the palette but you have shades to make it in the palette, just mix them like I did, because this created a beautiful purple. I see that I'm having a bit of a crease like right here, not a crease but just like a stripe where I don't know what happened. I'm pretty sure I just didn't blend out my eyeshadow primer, so please don't judge the palette, because this has nothing to do with the palette. It's not the palette's fault at all. I'm going to put some NYX glitter primer on my lid here before we go in with the shimmers, and I think that I'm going to use the blue one as well as the pink one. I think that those are going to look really, really nice together, as well as go very nicely with this crease. So I'm going to start with the dark blue here, which is called Starry. And I'm going to put that in the outer corner of my eye, or like the outer half of my lid, I should say. And one of the things I love the most about these shimmers, I've said it before a couple of times, but they aren't my favorite shimmer formula, but they are super easy to work with. They're very smooth. They don't do anything crazy on your lid. They don't crack. They lay very nicely, but they also blend out beautifully into mattes. And I really like that, because some shimmers are a little bit chunky, like the ones that are super reflective and shiny. Sometimes they can be a little bit hard to like blend into your crease, but these are just beautiful. And then with the other side of my brush, I'm going to take the shade here called Water Lily, which is the pink shimmer. And that's basically just going to go on the rest of my lid here, and I'm just going to blend it into that blue. I'm also taking a little bit more of this pink shade just in the front portion of my lower lash line, and then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lightest of the shades in the palette and just pop that right in the inner corner. And that's gonna be the shade here called Wisp. Just gonna go right in here as my inner corner highlight. There's just something so effortless about this formula that it's very hard to like really describe how I feel about it, but I just find it to be so easy to work with. So I think this is going to be it for the eyes. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and finish off, and I will show you the look, and I'll come back and show you the look. Okay, so here's the look all done, and I turned on some music and I just wanted to kind of play. So I did a bit of a graphic liner. I used one from JD Glow. This is the pastel blue, and I also used blue in my waterline, which is from Lethal. This is in the shade Analog. Just to run through everything else that I'm using one of the Muse Beauty lip liners. I don't know the name of this because they don't have it on the thing here. And on top, I have a gloss from Lethal in the shade Elemental, and my highlighter today is the Moon Cruiser highlighter from Kaleido. So that is how I decided to finish off. Of course, I did some, black liner and mascara as well, but I really like this look. I think it turned out really fun, and I just had such a good time playing with this palette again. And again, this reminds me why this is my best palette of the year, because every time I use it, I just have the best time. So I would highly recommend this palette. I feel like this palette is very beginner friendly. If that is something that you are looking for, if you are not super into color yet and you're looking to get into color, I think that this palette would be an amazing palette to add to your collection, because it has some neutrals, but it also has very, I don't want to say wearable colors because they're not really wearable, but the way that they apply and the way that they perform, they definitely perform in a way that I feel like most people are going to be able to make these work, because they're not hard shadows to work with. Some shadows can definitely be more high maintenance, but I don't feel like this palette is that at all, and I just think that it is a spectacular palette. I cannot believe that this is the first palette that Muse Beauty came out with, and I cannot wait to see what they do next year. I really feel like Muse is going to be one of those brands that a lot of people are going to discover and a lot of people are going to absolutely love, and I'm so excited that I was there from the beginning, because I feel special. So that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure none of you were surprised at all. If you're new to my channel, maybe you were surprised, I don't know, but if you are, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.